Hello Wallace, thank you so much for being here today. We're going to be asking you about your new book, God and Churchill. So first of all, can you tell us a little bit about what the book is about?
Well, the book is about God. It's not about Churchill. It's not about the Second World War. There's a lot in there about all of that, but it's how God is engaged in human history and how he's engaged in Churchill's time, which we elaborate on a great deal, but also in our time.
You co-authored this book with Jonathan Sands, the great-grandson of Winston Churchill. What was that like?
That was a most amazing experience because Jonathan, like his great-grandfather, is a natural historian. Neither of them were academically trained in history, and yet they were just instinctively historians. And it was fascinating with me because I asked Jonathan to give me a good core that we could build upon, and I was amazed at the historical evidence that Jonathan produced in about 100 pages that really became very much the core of the book from which we built everything else. And he said to me, Wallace, I want at least 3 confirming sources for everything that we claim. He wanted it to be historically accurate. That was a wonderful challenge to me, which I appreciated very much.
What does this book mean to you?
In 1971, I came to Britain for the first time. I was a very young man working in the White House in the Nixon administration. I was impressed very profoundly by the dynamics of nations and how nations are led. And I became fascinated with Winston Churchill. This was the first time I'd been in England. And as I walked around the monuments and looked through the gate at Buckingham Palace, I kept hearing down in my heart, there's more here than meets the eye. And it would be 40 years later, when Jonathan, more than 40 years later, when Jonathan Sands asked me to co-author this book with him, that I realized this is what that was about. And as we uncovered all of this information, I saw that there was a lot more indeed than met the eye.
Why should our viewers read this book?
Your viewers should read this book because they will learn some things about Churchill they've never known before. People have neglected his spiritual side, his spiritual dimension. And Churchill was a profoundly spiritual man. People ask us, was he a Christian? He certainly had a Christian worldview. And he certainly appreciated the Bible. And he certainly believed that Jesus was the Savior of the world. He told that very thing to Field Marshal Montgomery. They will be surprised at what they read about him spiritually because it's been unheralded. It's been unexplored until Jonathan and I have dug deeply into his spiritual record.
So finally, what does the book tell us about Churchill that viewers might not already know about his life?
I think what they will learn as they look at that is how God so specifically juxtaposed Churchill against Hitler. There's a theme that runs across history where there's a destroyer who is going to destroy civilization, but God seems to raise up a deliverer who stands against that destroyer. And I think the thing that the readers will be surprised about was how these two individuals were positioned. One writer even described it as a duel. But I would even go further than that. I would say that there was a good twin and an evil twin. And it was as if these two men appeared at just the same time, but God raised up Churchill at just the right moment to stop what Hitler wanted to do to the world, not just to Europe and Britain, but to the whole world.
Wallace, thank you so much for speaking to us.
My pleasure.